Hello, Charles Knapp. I'm back again. This is another The Secret by Byron Preiss, back of the book cartoon that localizes, and this is a localization for the St. Augustine puzzle. And we're going to try to get through this quickly, but it's probably going to be closer to 30 minutes. There's a fair amount of information, so I'm going to get moving here. And this is the wording. This is the American Motor Gremlins. And we're going to rip through this, hopefully. Here's the first little art at the bottom of the page. This is representing our lighthouse with the threads. And this gremlin is over here fouling the spark plug. And that's what gremlins do. They foul things up. They mess things up. And I believe this was used because of the spark and the history behind the lighthouse, the earthquake. It created shocks. And there's the complete history. It was written up by the lighthouse keeper, William Harn, if you want to read that. But the gremlins are a constant menace. They started out wrecking planes in World War II, and now they're wrecking cars and they're causing problems. You look at this. This is mainly why we're here today, is to discuss the large cartoon. And so let's keep moving. AMC Gremlin from the 70s. And here's the problem. You look at this car, that doesn't look like a gremlin. The bumper's wrong, the front shape. This would be under the hood, but then what's all this down here? So it's kind of like, which end of the car is that and what's going on? Look at the car. Okay, it's not the back end of the car. Is it the front end of the car? It's kind of ambiguous. And ambiguous is what Byron uses in a lot of these puzzles. There's more than one interpretation. We're having a double meaning. Ambiguous. We talked about Tristan's chord in a previous video. It's a very good one. That was the genius of Byron. If you look at that, you watch that video, you'll see Byron used music. He actually wanted us to look up this and to find out about Tristan and that whole legend of what happened. They were in love and everything was going fine, and then it was ended in tragedy. Okay, looking at the verse that goes with our puzzle, we're looking for localization. Usually the localization comes at the end of the verse. It could be in the middle, like at the base of a tall tree, maybe a green picket fence. Maybe the honking is cars, maybe it's an animal. But we're going to look at this part right here. In darkness, moonlight, teardrops, tall grass, years pass, rain falls. So we start automatically trying to make sense of the wording with the art. You see all the drops? Raindrops. Okay. Rain falls. You see the moonlight. Moon right there. There's a light. Moonlight in teardrops. This is teardrop shaped if you're looking from below. Teardrops. And you have down here some other dots and things we're going to talk about. Oh, this guy looks like he's about to fall or he's about to drop off. So maybe there's something about falling drops we're going to be looking at. Lifesavers. This is an old advertisement. And lifesavers, life savings, that's what they do in lighthouses. They save lives. Keep the ship off the rocks. When the ships hit the rock, back in the old days, hit the rocks, they would go out, they'd save whoever they could. They'd rescue them from dying. They were lifesavers. And you got your gremlins here. Gremlins are terrible. They destroy everything. Looking at the art, we have a tall structure. We have a tall structure. We have someone looking down. We had someone looking down on watch. They were on watch. They were looking out from above. It's tall, dangerous work. And so we can start putting some things together. There's a whole bunch of things on the lighthouse. I'm not covering that today. You look at the history of AMC Gremlins. It talks about Morgan Le Fay. And there was an old legend, fairy tale, if you will, about Morgan Le Fay. And so we have a car that's being torn apart, broken apart, something happens to the car. It changes. There's actually a movie you can watch on YouTube from 1978, Doctor Strange, with Morgan Le Fay in it. So Morgan Le Fay is mentioned by Byron, so he had to know about it. Morgan Le Fay evolves from a benevolent healer to an evil sorceress. So she goes from a beautiful, benevolent healer or beautiful person, whatever, to transition to something evil, something changed. What happens to our car, the AMC? It goes from if you read from the beginning, it starts out in the showroom. It's a beautiful car. Ends up with things broken, not going right. Things are just in bad shape because of the evil gremlins. And you can go ahead and read through this or watch the movie. And it's very interesting, but it's kind of I think it's poorly funded. It's not that great. But in any event, there were dangers for the lighthouse keepers. We just covered some of that. Some of the danger was falling. Morgan Le Fay, beautiful but dangerous. And here in the movie, she's actually tossing somebody off up above and dies. Somebody's falling. So there's an analogy here. This gremlin's about to fall or drop off. So we need to focus on these other gremlins. What specifically? Why is this gremlin here? What is he doing? What is this gremlin doing here that's already fallen off or dropped off? Well, if you look at this guy, at first I thought, yeah, you want to present yourself, pick a vein, I'm going to give some blood. No, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, look at my veins, I'm not a druggie. Nope, that's not it. But then I realized he's not. Notice this object. He's released this object over this. Throwing is this motion. If you're going to draw somebody throwing, you would draw this. He's like this, and then sticks arms out and lets go. He's dropping. He is dropping something. He's dropping this item over the hexagon shape inside a hexagon. Now we're starting to get something because we're back to dropping or falling. A fuse. The old cars had fuses that looked like this. And now it wasn't under the hood, but there's a little bit of artistic license going on there. And you'd remove the fuse to isolate your electrical problem, look for your short, or you'd pull the fuse and replace it because the fuse was bad. And fuses, they're hard to remove. A lot of times people just take the car into the mechanic. And electrical problems are sometimes difficult to isolate or find. And these are difficult to remove. Exorcise, remove. And if you don't believe me, ask your neighborhood mechanic for an estimate on removing your fuse or checking your electrical problem. Or if maybe there's an oil drop, you need an estimate on that. If one looks closely, you'll see the laughing little rascals. There they are, those little rascals. They're dropping off of something. They climb up to the top and they drop off to the ground. The little rascals are dropping off the car. And I've shown in a previous video the hexagon, and that comes from Warner von Braun, back of the book. Beehives, beekeeper. That's a beehive inside. So you've got some things going on here that are starting to match up. It says inside a hexagon. They are dropping off from the inside of the hexagon. Okay. And moving on. So he's dropping a fuse over the hexagon. He's dropping a hammer. The hammer's about to drop. And we just talked about this. The kids drop off from the inside. They're dropping off from the inside the engine compartment. Alright, so let's look at this gremlin right here. It's about to drop off of the car. He's about to fall. This one's in the shadow. I don't know if he's holding up 3 fingers or 2. That may be significant. And we have a rectangular shape over here, and then the feet, there's something weird going on with the feet. You got to look closer. And it's not far from this rectangular shape. You look closer on the short leg, there's a 2 right there. Short leg, 2. The long leg extended is 3. So that's telling us 2 feet and 3 feet. Now you might argue that's a 5. Okay, I'll give you that, but it's all squared off. 2, you can see it there. You go back to the art. Now this is not natural to have a triangular shape like this in the rocks. A perfect isosceles triangle, right triangle. I put the square around it so that these sides would be equal. Right triangle, 2 sides are equal. And then you have this right here, which is rectangular shape. But if you look, this jumps out 2 feet. 2 or 2 feet. Someone online pointed out, oh, there's a 4 in there. Well, there sure is. It's an incomplete 4. Maybe it's not quite 4. Start put these clues together. Put them together. Why the rectangular? Why the triangle? Why the 2 and the 4? Well, let's go back to the art. Maybe this is our isosceles triangle off of a corner or a rectangular object. Maybe our X is 2 feet there and 2 feet there. Maybe. You go to the top of this guy that's falling off, our falling gremlin. There's an X right here. His head is not completely round. Now, what artist would draw a head that's partially a polygon and then, okay, there's his head. There's that hexagon shape again. Maybe this is our triangle. Maybe it's 2 feet. Maybe this is the ground. Remember our dome that the kids are playing on, the geodesic dome is half of a complete rounded structure. And so you can see maybe this is the ground. I'm not saying this is 100%, but this is how you figure these out. The clues are in there. Okay, the gremlin on the ground. What is he doing? He's looking at the tire. What else do we see on the tire? Well, these things might be oil drops that hit the tire. The tire was turning. But he's also pointing down with his hand. Why is he pointing down? And you start looking at the shadows down below. Oh, he's standing in an oil drop here. Oh, the other foot is in an oil drop that hasn't dried yet. You put them back to back, you have 2 feet. 2 feet. You got to look closely, and you read through this, it'll tell you again, it's about oil drops, dropping off the car. What drops off your car? What drops off your car when you go over the bump? Oil drops. I mean, I don't know how, why is this so hard? Here they are. Here's your oil drops. You look down. Okay, we still have another problem with this. Why is this? Nowhere else do you see a blade of grass or anything like this. Well, he's a gremlin. Don't forget. What do gremlins do? They destroy things. They cause problems with your car. Let me see if the next slide tells us. Oh, if we go back to the wording. Hissing out of the tires. He's looking to see where he's going to puncture that tire so that it goes flat. That's what gremlins do. They destroy your tires. They give you flat tires. That's why he's in that. That's why that's there. Hissing out of the tires. Here he is standing in the oil drops. Well, let's look at that closer. 1 foot next to another foot. The corner of his toolbox, bag, whatever you want to call it. The corner's there. 1 foot, 2 foot, X. That kind of matches with our previous information with the 2 on the other gremlin's foot right there. So now we're starting to get things that are making sense, that they fit together in the puzzle. They're coming together. 2 feet from the corner over here, 3 feet from maybe the dome comes around. And in the center here, we have a half a dome with the backwards 3. 3 feet from the dome, 3 feet from the dome, possibly. Remember, it's a shadow puzzle. There's shadows in here. There's a shadow line running here that's thick. Where's the other tire track if it's a tire track? And the car's going that way because that's the front of the car. So why put that in there? Down from our light, shadow, this way, back and forth. Well, maybe it's the light pole. No, it can't be the light pole. Can it be the palm tree shadow? Well, sure. And this isn't a palm tree, in case you haven't figured it out. Of course, we got our oil drop. We had to get that in there. And we talked about this in a previous video or online. I don't recall which, but I think maybe on both. Here's a hand. It's pointing to the hair. And we've got here it is again, hexagon. It's an earwig mandible. So if you turn it sideways, there's your wig around the ear, and the mandible is the jawbone. He's telling us to look at that. That's a spotter's tip from the backyard barber creep. And we know these fairies share the clues. We're told that in the book. There you go. There's your wig. And what is it? It's a shadow. Maybe the shadow of a palm tree. Right in the middle of the shadow. Interesting. If you look at a palm tree, this isn't the palm tree, but it's one nearby the tennis court or a tennis court. And you can see here how the top of that, you can say, well, I guess that could be a wig. It's a shadow. Here's our tall grass right up top. There's tall grass, tall tree. Starting to fit together. There's a shadow. This is daytime shadow. But what happens at night? It's a nighttime puzzle. How do we get a shadow? From the light up above. Where's that light? Tennis court. Okay, so it's all starting to come together. The geodesic gnome or dome, kids are dropping off, they fall off. So falling off, dropping off, drops. We start fitting all these things together. If your theory can do all this for localization, you got a great theory. Now, if you think that all this puzzle is about is the history, show me all the history that explains all of this. That's fine. I'll buy it. I don't think if it's all only history, well, I don't know how you're going to make it fit or how it fits together. Shadow puzzle, silhouettes. If you see silhouettes, probably a shadow puzzle. This is back from Backyard Barber Creep, and I've previously covered that. But look at the heads. Partial polygon. See that? Those aren't completely round heads. Now, what artist would do that? Oh, that's just a coincidence. Yeah, but on many of these, the transitions, no. Then you go to the art here, JJP. Oh, look, here's your polygon, partial polygons. There they are, and there's 3 of them lined up in a row. Oh, there's 3 of them lined up in a row right here. Oh, is that a coincidence? I don't know. What's in the shadow right here? That's what we're looking for. That's a jewel. See how all these start to fit together? The shadow of the palm tree is where the jewel was buried. You don't need a clock on this puzzle, so there's no clock on it. And now this is 2 separate maps, 2 of the same area. And the reason I did that was so that you could see the Y. You can't see it, it's obscured by the trees here. Cars go around here, they can pull in here. Now here's a different map. You can see the pavement around here, and they pull in here. And the reason I did that was once I did that, I thought, well, look, if that's the Y right here, our X is down below. Oh, Our X is down below. X marks the spot down below. Now, you say, well, Byron didn't do overheads and blah, blah, blah. He had access to maps, okay? Here you can see it closer up. And right here's where we're talking. You can have your honking over here in the parking lot. It's cars honking. Here's the light at the tennis court, and the tennis court is rectangular shape. Oh, what a coincidence, right? We talked about rectangular shapes, and I thought, well, maybe we can work with this a little bit. I'm just finishing up. If we know this distance, which I'm not a tennis player, I had no clue. I looked it up. 4.5 feet. 4.5 feet right over here. Okay, so why do I want to know that? It's because I can get closer here on this image, and if I have this as 4.5, now I have something to calibrate down here, so I can get an idea of the distance down here. Here's our palm tree. Our light is actually off of the screen over here, casting a shadow this way at night. So the shadow is going to be over here. Then I want to try to fit, like, okay, is it 3 feet from the dome? Is it 5 feet from a corner or the tree or what? Then this is how you localize. So this distance from the corner of the court to here is about 4.5 feet. So you can go a little more than 5. I don't know if this is 8 feet or 9 feet, because this is a little bit of an angle. Could be 3 feet. But this is one way to come up with a theory that gives you an idea where to look. This is what it's about. It's localization. And why is there a triangle on the ankle? There's a triangle here. There's a 5 here, or maybe something different, a backwards 2, or I don't know. And there's a corner right here. Is this a palm tree, or is this something else? There's a 7, a triangle. There's a black line running here. Is that a triangle? There's more mysteries involved here, and if you figure it out, that's great and wonderful. Then you don't have to worry too much about the Gremlins. This is from an early Gremlin cartoon during World War II, when the Russians and the Americans were fighting the Nazis to fight. They were fighting Hitler, and you saw the Gremlins attacking the planes. It was kind of amusing. Here's another image. There's Sharp Tack. And then don't forget about Bugs Bunny, the falling hair. He was falling from the plane, like falling drops, raindrops, oil drops. What's up, Doc? Bugs Bunny. He sees a gremlin up there, and he's getting somebody. I don't know. He's getting ready to get whacked by the wrench. It's kind of a funny cartoon. But anyway, I'll bet you never look at oil drops on the pavement again without thinking about this. Maybe you will. Maybe you've tuned out by now and said, this is ridiculous. It's all about the history. Okay, fine. And one last thing, don't dig without a permit. In fact, I intend to get down there and dig someday, hopefully within the next year. And so I'm putting in a claim. Like the miners of old days, when they were after gold, they'd have a mining claim. That's my claim. That's my spot. If you want to dig that spot, fine. Get permission. When you get it, join up with me. You're part of my team. And I believe that's it. Yep. So have a nice day. I hope you're having a good day. If not, hang in there. Don't get discouraged. And times will get better. And I hope you have a nice day. And take care.